Welcome back, and moving on to our first segment of today. And as we were mentioning in the beginning, talking about Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken discussing the importance of establishing a path for the post-conflict period that provides governance, security and reconstruction for Gaza, and of course taking place in the G20 summit in Brazil. And to discuss this in more details and also more about all what is happening in the region, over the phone we have Ambassador Wafaa Bassim, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
So first of all, can we shed the light on the significance of this meeting?
I think this is one of the meetings that have frequently taken place between Egyptian authorities and American authorities at different levels between counterparts. We have seen encounters with Egyptian authorities, with members of the Senate, with members of the Congress, with the National Security Advisor, and with the Secretary of State. And this time it is between the Egyptian Foreign Minister and Mr. Blinken, the American Secretary of State. I would think that this meeting that took place on the sidelines of the G20 meetings, where Egypt was invited as a guest of honor, and where our president has participated. This meeting took place between the two ministers to sort of assess the situation in the region, particularly after the escalations that are taking place in Lebanon, and the continuation of the atrocities, the attacks on Gaza, the very dire and disastrous humanitarian situation that is existing in Gaza for more now than, I would say, almost we are approaching 14 months. And this is starting to have also an impact in Lebanon, with millions of people displaced from their homes and in shelters without enough services, whether nutrition, I mean food, electricity, water, health services. And of course, we are not going to talk about the situation in Gaza in this respect, as we all know. The two ministers sat together, they assessed the situation, they reiterated their positions, and of course the American Secretary has reiterated the position of the importance of a ceasefire, but that is not unconditional, and that it's very important to allow for the return of the humanitarian assistance to Gaza as soon as possible, as well as to Lebanon, and the importance of the return of the hostages to their families. This is, I mean, one day after this meeting, or even at the same day, we have seen the American vote in the Security Council, where the U.S. has been the only state among the 15 members, whether permanent members or non-permanent members, elected members, to veto the resolution that was tabled in order to allow for a ceasefire and the return of the humanitarian assistance as soon as possible. So that's on one part. Egypt also has reiterated its position once again. the importance of an immediate ceasefire, the return of the populations to their place, the non-acceptance or the categorical refusal of Egypt that the solution to the war in Gaza be to the detriment of the Palestinian people in the form of their eradication or of their enforced displacement and immigration to other territories and other places. Also,
Okay,
Egypt is
Mrs.
quite
Ambassador,
concerned.
that's very critical. How do you read Egypt's strong rejection and the condemnation of the Israelis' act of the escalation in the Gaza Strip in this critical time, in your point of view?
Well, the Egyptian position has always been the same from the very first moment, and let's not forget that the first summit seeking for peace has taken place in Egypt just a few weeks after the beginning of the atrocities and the war in Gaza. And Egypt has participated very, very actively in all efforts that have been taking place, particularly for the war in Gaza since the 7th of October 2023. But we will never forget that Egypt has assumed its responsibility in full since the beginning of the Israeli-Arab conflict, and even after the peace agreement with Israel. Egypt has continued to defend and to stand by the rights of the Palestinian people to have their own homeland. It also supported all efforts concerning the establishment of two states, and this has never been changing. It is continuing to support the Palestinian people to prevent whatever it can to end the very critical and even, I would say, inhuman situation that is in Gaza in all forums, including its support of the importance of the return of the UNRWA to operate in Gaza, to operate in the West Bank for assisting people to continue living. People are dying by the hundreds every day in Gaza because of the Israeli raids. And now we are also in a delicate situation from the fact that we had an outgoing administration that was not able to deliver, and an incoming American administration that during the campaign for elections was claiming that it will solve the problem, but at the same time we can see some contrary declarations coming from this new administration that is coming in. But it's too early. It's too early to judge, of course, what will happen in 2 or 3 months.
Talking about, as you mentioned right now, you were talking about the new American administration to take place in 2 months. And many people are talking, some people, they are optimistic there might be a change, and some others believe, of course, that the system will continue regarding certain points. So how do you see this? Do you have any expectations or hopes for any changes in the American stance?
I just mentioned to you that the actual position and of the American delegation in the Security Council yesterday. So until the end of this administration, I don't expect any change. As far as speculation or what to expect from the new administration, I think we have some points the previous positions taken by Mr. Trump's administration during his tenure, of course, before that, 4 years before now. This could be a signal of what it will be like. The different positions and declarations that he took during his campaign, whether he was talking to the IPAC or to the different, agglomeration, whether of Jews or of highly Arab populated in the United States. It's it's really too early to judge, but we have to keep in mind two things. It is a long strategic, and I would say unchangeable attitude on the right of the U.S. different administration is the priority and the very high priority of the security of Israel and its security in its borders. Okay, some are continuing to talk about the solution of two states, and others are putting on the table other scenarios. So
well, Mrs. Ambassador, the leaders of the 20 major economies called for a global pact to combat the hunger and to give more aid for Gaza. To what extent is a joint declaration that has been issued late on Monday that was heavy on the generalities but was very short on the detail, accomplished those goals?
Well, the first positive thing is that this alliance launched by the Brazilian president on fighting hunger and eradicating poverty, as well as the motto of the summit itself about a just world and a sustainable planet. They are both coming from the birthplace of the whole idea and concept of sustainable development that took place in Rio de Janeiro decades ago under the heading of the Summit of the Earth. The alliance to which Egypt was among the very first to join is very important if you see the level of hunger all around the world as well as the poverty. It's due to, of course, inherent reasons and roots, mainly the inequality that is sort of having its toll on the whole world, but also the climate change, the status of the finance, the environmental impact of things like the earth warming and so on and so forth, the insufficient support on the part of rich countries and developed countries to developing countries to achieve their own goals as well of progress, advancement, and welfare of their population. What is on Gaza, if you see the composition of the G20 with the US, with the France, UK, Germany, and this would not have allowed for more what you have seen in Gaza, which focused on the humanitarian assistance and especially for food and health assistance.
Well,
It couldn't
Ambassador
go
Wafaa
beyond.
Bassim, actually President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi highlighted Egypt's commitment to tackling global inequality and hunger, announcing the country's membership in the newly launched Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, while urging to an end for the Israeli war in Gaza and Lebanon. So tell us more about what kind of measures that we immediately need to take and to work on to stop this massacre taking place in Gaza and Lebanon.
The immediate measures would have easily been a Security Council resolution to be implemented on an immediate ceasefire that would allow the entrance of the humanitarian assistance to Gaza in all its forms, food, health services, sanitary services, water, you just name it. This is according to all international observers, and I will not even talk about the local institutions, whatever remains of it in Gaza, about the situation there, which has become unlivable. And despite this, the international community is not even able to issue an Security Council resolution without having a veto. So the most important thing is an immediate ceasefire, whether in Gaza or in Lebanon, so the humanitarian assistance can enter, so people can be relieved, so dead can be buried, so children can have their basic needs of vaccination, treatment, food, clean water, and the families, the elderly, the women, and the normal people who are living there, or what remains of them, I mean.
Right, Ambassador Wafaa Bassim, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for joining us. And moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back with more on The Breakfast Show.